Diyala province lies just north of Baghdad and has been one of the strongholds of al-Qaeda in Iraq. Freelance journalist Doug Grindle recently traveled to the area, where he embedded with U.S. Army units. He spoke to the commander of U.S. troops there about the situation in the region.
Diyala is a kind of an exciting place when it comes to al-Qaeda, Jaish al-Mahdi and other insurgent groups. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. One is geographical. I think Diyala is kind of on the back door, at least from the northeast, east-northeast perspective of Baghdad. And then you're also along the Iranian border, so you have the Persian influence from Iran. We do see smuggling across the border. So we're not seeing gross numbers of Iranian insurgents coming across the border, but what we are seeing is mule train with anti-personnel mines and barbed wire. So I think geographically, we're kind of in the center of the universe here. And in many ways, Diyala serves as a mini Iraq. You have the Sunni issue, Shia, as well as the Kurd. So it makes for an interesting mix of folks, and plus it's very agrarian. I kind of term it scrappy. These folks are scrappy. They're hardy in nature, and they fight for what they believe in. And when al-Qaeda gets infested in a group like this, it takes an interesting shape. They established Diyala as the caliphate, the center of the caliphate for al-Qaeda. This place has been kinetic for a number of years now. He had Operation Arrowhead Ripper 2006 and then 2007 specifically, and really there were only two places in Baqubah, which is the capital of Diyala, that were really under either coalition force or governance of Diyala rule. The rest of it was al-Qaeda. So this place has been through an awful lot, operation after operation to clear al-Qaeda out of here. So in many ways, Diyala is about 1.5 years, a year and a half behind some of the other provinces as far as budget, security, and really progress writ large.
I don't know, man. It's crazy what happened, dude. Yeah, there was blood everywhere. It's crazy.
They called and told me about it.
One of the first patrols I went on was down to the southern part of Baqubah, to a neighborhood called BURDETT. It used to be for soldiers in Baqubah city that this was literally one of the worst places in Iraq. When they took the place back a couple of years ago, they had to literally fight house to house, clearing them of booby traps and bombs and all sorts of fighting. It was really terrible. Nowadays, a couple of years later, areas such as BURDETT, most of Baqubah, are quite quiet. And so the idea that these patrols are there for security, they are there for security, true, but even more than security, now development is really the key focus of these people going out on patrol. BURDETT is important because it's where all of the main infrastructure for the area, the countryside south of the city, is located. So if you want to improve the agriculture, if you want to improve the electricity situation down south, you really have to get the officials in BURDETT on board and get them so that they improve the water pumps, they improve the electrical grid, and they make it possible to pump the water from the Diyala River down south. And without the cooperation and the support and really the implementation of these infrastructural heads up in BURDETT, all the people down south in the countryside trying to improve things are really going to have a tough time. While we're at the government center in BURDETT, the soldiers are standing around, and an Iraqi lady came up to us. And she says, I have a major problem. I'm trying to get this ID for my kids, and the bureaucrats inside are saying that I need to get my husband's signatures, and can you help me? And, the Americans are like, well, the Iraqis run the place, and you have to deal with them. And it's sort of a striking example of how just a couple of years after al-Qaeda essentially ran the city, is nowadays these people are running into the sort of petty bureaucratic processes and frustrations, sort of a sign of a return to normalcy, and it's quite a huge sea change in just how life is lived there in the city.
It's pretty quiet here. We have an occasional bad apple, but most people are just good people that just want to go to work and live a normal life, and they're trying to do the best they can around us and the few individuals that do cause problems here. But for the most part, it's quiet. We don't have too many problems, and most of it's just a presence patrol to let them know that we're here and perform if they need any help.
No, we have no toys. No toys. We're not doing now.
No?
Not doing now. No. No more.
Do we need football?
We don't have football. Not football.
Yes.
Not football.
3?
Yeah, 3 there. Yeah. Us. No.
Mister, no.
Not football.
Mister, Pepsi?
Huh? No. Hey, not football. They have 3 football.
What are these kids like anyway?
Oh, they're usually pretty fun. Usually want a lot of stuff. But usually happy to see us and like playing football, as you see. But they're happy to see us all the time. Some of them are kind of shy, but usually the kids are pretty happy.
What do they ask you for stuff? Or they just like hang around? Or
They usually ask for toys and footballs and like Pepsi and all that. So if we have extra soccer balls or whatever, then we'll give them to them. But sometimes we don't always have them. Like this kid over here is wanting toys. We don't have any toys, or we'd give them some. They usually want pins, and we usually have a couple to give them, but that's about it. That's usually all they ask for.
they're kind of like, you know, it doesn't seem like they're afraid of you enough to be like kicking a football around.
Yeah, they're not afraid of us. Some kids are, but a lot of these kids have seen us for years and years now, so they're used to seeing us and everything. They love seeing us and like playing soccer and all that. So
It's kind of what you expected out of Iraq, or depends?
that's what I've been telling them. It's different. It's different than how it used to be. The kids used to be scared of us and everything, but since wars changed and all that, they're just, I don't know, they're not scared of us at all.
It's kind of weird though, having like this and then having like the occasional bit of violence in the city and more of this.
Yeah, it's different. Being going from this and then you just be traveling down the road, just not even out of the blue, all of a sudden have something bad happen to you, but oh well. It's part of the job.
The brigade I'm visiting with is called the 1st Striker Brigade of the 25th Infantry Division, and it's called the Striker Brigade because it drives around in vehicles called Strikers, which are these big green-painted, sort of monstrous-looking vehicles, very large. They hold about 11 people, have all sorts of armament, all sorts of gizmos inside, and initially Strikers used to be quite controversial. A bunch of the critics sort of said, well, you know, they're too big for city streets. They have these cages on the outside. You can't get anywhere. They're completely useless. Well, the proof is probably in the pudding, in that you talk to the soldiers and they sort of say, well, you know, they're really strong, actually. You know, between the steel and the composites, you know, they can really take a hit, and it's really great to be inside of them if you're driving around, because the protection is really good. Still, there are things called explosively formed projectiles, or EFPs, out there, which essentially are these shaped head charges that can go through about a foot of armor. And now the insurgents also have RKG-3s, which are these grenade things, which can also go through almost a foot of armor. And everyone, you know, knows that there's no American vehicle in Iraq which has a foot of armor on it. So you're pretty much out of luck if you get hit by one of those things. And there has been a spate of attacks using these little grenades lately. So you do get a sense of safety when you're driving around in these things, but you know that you're never completely safe in Iraq, but the crews sure do have a lot of confidence in these Striker vehicles. While I was in Baqubah, we also went on a night patrol in the northern part of the city. And in this patrol, they went into this house, and it wasn't really a raid. A raid implies that you sort of kick the door down. They went into this house, they simply opened the door and walked right in. And what they're looking for is a couple of insurgent leaders.
When do they leave? What time? At night?
About a 161 wanted me to send up that there are no males in the house. Supposedly they went to Baghdad 2 days ago. Over.
What was wrong with it?
We got some information just on some anti-coalition and anti-Iraqi security force elements that are operating within the city. Working with the Iraqi police and utilizing the Iraqi jurisdiction. Basically, we've followed some intel that led us to this house. We don't have specific intelligence that says 100% that there is, bad guys or insurgents or Al-Qaeda living in this house. So that's why we came to the house, knocked on the door. The IPs went in first. They started asking questions, and that's when we conducted the search of the house.
And did you, that you found the individual you're looking for?
There were no males in the house when we arrived, so we took the opportunity to search the house and see if there was any Al-Qaeda associated or insurgent-related material within the house, and then afterwards we'll depart. And obviously, there's no one here to detain, so it's just another good opportunity to practice, good patrolling techniques, good search techniques with the ISF. And you're not going to get lucky and find the golden nugget every time you go out, but you do it often enough, and eventually it'll come to you, and you'll get the one that you're looking for. We've been working with these IPs. It's actually a new unit for the last 2 weeks. This is a good opportunity to teach them about search techniques, as well as trying to help enforce the rule of law. It's actually kind of exciting to work with a new group of IPs. Because actually about 50% of this unit hasn't even been to a police academy. So they're still getting up on their feet. They're still trying to learn the simple techniques that a lot of times our soldiers take for granted. So they really get to be the master trainers and help out those new Iraqi police to learn what their job is. We understand that it's not just trying to find targeted individuals, but it's also for the good of the community. It helps the ISF determine, basically confirm or deny, whether that particular house or the individuals inside are associated with, anti-coalition or anti-ISF personnel. So it ends up being actually a pretty good thing, even if you don't find what you're looking for, you've at least, confirmed that those individuals are not associated with anyone in the wrong.
You don't knock on the door; you just kind of walk in, huh?
A lot of the times you are able to just walk in, because they'll either leave their door open and then you knock and get on the inside, or they'll just let you right in. So just kind of depends on the neighborhood, depends on the time of day. But usually, we're not kicking down doors anymore. It's really an environment where, for the most part, the people are pretty understanding of the current situation. And if you just give them some time to get their things together, they'll let you in the door, and they'll give you the information that you're looking for.
As the soldiers go through, they make this sort of pile of cell phones and CDs and photos and papers and things like that. What they're looking for are very specific things. They're looking for any sort of links with insurgents that these guys might have, things like phone numbers and locations. They're also looking for photos of what these guys or what other insurgents and their associates might look like. And they're also looking for sort of like clues as to where they've gone and what they might be doing. So this is sort of like the treasure trove of what they're looking for. On another patrol, the soldiers go up into some palm groves on the northern edge of the city. It's only about 1 kilometer away from the actual built-up area, though it does seem like it's sort of in the middle of nowhere. The soldiers have had a recent uptick in violence. There's been some attacks against the strikers and against the Iraqi forces with grenades and various bombs, and so they want to sort of knock this on the head. Well, they have some specific intelligence that there might be something in these palm groves. They sort of go all out. They take metal detectors, and they have a dog, and they have like UAVs overhead, or these little unmanned drones. And they search through the fields and the palm groves just looking for what they feel must be like a weapons cache somewhere around there.
We got some pretty good intelligence off of some sources that led us to believe that one of the people that we have detained has buried weapons or a cache here.
Is it difficult to find things around here?
You can find stuff anywhere. Obviously, it wouldn't be here now if we would have found it already. They're good at it. In the past, in other operations, we have found things. As recently as 2-3 weeks ago, we had an operation where we were out in the middle of a field. Just like this one, we used metal detectors and found a sniper rifle that was in perfect condition buried just maybe a foot under the dirt, and it was a fairly successful find to just run across it with metal detectors just out in the middle of nowhere.
And are there a lot of these caches around, and why do they stow them around here?
From what I'm told, in Iraq there's caches everywhere. They don't want them in their houses because we can easily identify the homeowner, and he'll be responsible for it. But out here, if we find something, there's no one particularly linked to the weapon or cache, so they'll hide stuff out here where we're not going to find it as easy.
The fact that there are all these caches, does that reflect that there is an ongoing level of violence?
I know our AO has calmed down quite a bit, and the weapons that we found are significantly less than, say, a year ago here. The reports I've read, they found all kinds of things in the past, and now we're coming on stuff fairly infrequently. It can be kind of fun, it can be exciting when you run across something big. You get excited because you know that could be used on you or someone you know. Other times you strike out, you don't find anything, it's disappointing, but there's always a chance that you will.
On this day, the soldiers don't find caches in the area, which is quite frustrating for them considering they made sort of an all-out effort and have intelligence to go off of. There's a village right there on the edge of the groves. They go in there, and they're looking through, and they treat everyone as reasonably suspicious because this used to be an area with a lot of caches, and everyone is de facto suspicious. And they go into one of the houses, and they really turn over the house.
Another ID. Why do you need so many IDs? I got 2.
Tap the bottom and see if it's all.
Yeah, it's hollow under there, sir.
It's hollow?
Router. We'll go through it in a second.
Iraqi civilians are allowed to be armed, but there's a clearly defined limit. They're only allowed to have one AK-47 assault rifle and one magazine. And so they find this guy's house has quite a few extra magazines for the AK-47, and so they say, well, what the heck is this? You're only allowed one magazine. This is awfully suspicious.
Did we cut somebody's head off with that?
Right now we have the Iraqi police with us to help us search some houses in an area that we have intelligence that there are weapon caches and a lot of AQI activity. So obviously anybody who might have information or be connected with them is of interest to us. So of course we looked at see what he might have. He had weapons and some ammunition, but nothing more out of the ordinary. The large amount of cash that he had on us drew some suspicion. So after some questions, we found that he really didn't have much to offer. Again, I wanted to find out as much as I could because as someone who's familiar with the area, he can give us a lot more information if we can approach him in the right way. Obviously, we have to come in and find everything first to see if he himself is involved in any of the activities. And if he's not, maybe he can help us find those that are.
And locals cooperate with the U.S. or the opposition more?
It depends. A lot of them are scared to help us because their neighbors might hurt them. So sometimes it depends on who you ask, when you ask them, and where you ask them. They might be able to help us. They might not. Obviously this guy he's very animated and has a lot of stories to tell. But nothing that's going to help us today, here and now. Here and today, right now, he had nothing for us. So we're going to move on.
On another day, I went with a group of soldiers to visit a sheikh south of Baqubah. It's a little bit difficult to figure out exactly who's the most honest people over in Iraq, but the soldiers are pretty much willing to deal with anyone who's not an insurgent. Now, they wanted to speak with the sheikh about economic development. They have this new program of $4,000 microloans they're spreading around the province. It's significant in that the The security has come back to the extent that this sort of program can be a priority, and just a couple of years ago that would have been impossible just because the security situation was so bad.
What we need to look at is what makes the most sense and the location. And what will actually work.
The reason they want to speak with the Sheikh is because he's actually one of the biggest people in the area just southwest of Baqubah. And because the Sheikh's quite a larger-than-life individual, he lays on this enormous spread of food. They have all sorts of things, and it makes the soldiers pretty happy. And it makes the guy look like a big man, and, you know, it sort of like goes along with his status.
It's actually not too unusual. A lot of times we come here, eat with them. It's just tradition for them. They feel like when we come here, they like to be great hosts, share food with us, have chai. Right now we have lamb and rice, kebabs over there, and then some chicken right there. Actually, this is some of probably the best food we've had since we've been here.
Guys coming down, some Gillette.
The Sheikh had plenty of ideas on projects to use from the microloan program, and most of them were pretty unworkable simply because they cost too much. But some of them seemed pretty good, and one of the soldiers liked was the idea of starting up a fish farm. So the soldiers drive out in the countryside and they come to this spot, which is essentially a big hole in the ground that's all dried up. And it doesn't look like much, but the soldiers say they like the program, or the idea anyway, simply because it's cheap, it's easy to run, it's already been run before.
We're out here trying to establish a new business in order to provide employment for the area. There's a big problem with unemployment in this area, and so the more businesses we get established, the more chance that all the unemployed people will have to have a job.
Why is the Army in the business of job creation? What's that got to do with security?
In this case, with security, it seems like the more unemployed people there are in the area, the more they'll be without something to do and without money. And so that therefore increases the chances that they'll do something illegal for money just to feed their families. So if we can provide a job opportunity for them to be able to legally work and legally provide for their family, this is a better alternative and just helps the economy for the whole area in general.
You mean like illegally, like smuggling or blowing people up?
Yeah, illegally in both ways in this case. So it'd be better to provide them with a means of income that they would rather do the good thing in most cases, but just like everyone else, it seems like they will do things to provide for their family.
We're absolutely running against the clock. We're not going to be here forever. I think the most important thing I can do as a Coalition Force Brigade commander here is continue to push, sometimes poke, prod, pull, cajole, whatever it takes to get them to stay committed to what they've signed up for in certain areas. The governance has got a huge piece of this. They have to want this. And I keep telling them, you guys have got to want this. I want it for you. I've spilt blood here in Diyala. All those coalition forces and all the Iraqi police who gave their lives, and the Iraqi army and the sons of Iraq, the government officials who gave their life, you know, for Diyala, it wasn't for want. I mean, they sacrificed hugely, and they were allowed. I mean, what they did delivered to Diyala to where it is today.
If you have comments or questions about C-SPAN's international programming, please email us at international@cspan.org. And you can watch this or other C-SPAN programming on Iraq by visiting our website. Just type the word Iraq into the search box in the upper right